All right, Knicks and Pacers. So you see Indiana's arena in the background, and that place is going to be hopping tonight. I'm not an Indiana fan. I'm a sports fan. I'm a longtime basketball coach, so I obviously take an interest in this through a coach's lens. We're at game 6 tonight. Most people thought that Indiana was going to win the other night and close it out, even though it was at Madison Square Garden. We're going to close it out. Tyrese Halliburton, right? He's come to the forefront, and I'm on record saying very loudly that Tyrese Halliburton, despite what you say, Dan Dockich, is not a superstar. There are stars, and then there are superstars. And the delineation between the two is subjective, right? It's based on what criteria are you going to grade the player on. What I would say to you is Jalen Brunson is a superstar. This guy comes up big in every moment, and he's generally, most of the time, the smallest guy on the floor, but plays the biggest on the floor. Now, Tyrese Halliburton, 6'6", wildly talented, lots of skill. In game 4, 32, 12, and 11, it was a triple-double. Forgive me if I'm a little bit off on the points and rebounds, but I think it was 32 points. Lights out, doing everything the right way, and then he just completely vanishes. And this is basically who he is. And he's been this way. Now, he's better now than he was, say, 2 years ago. But if we're going to have the conversation about him being a superstar, you have to do it night in and night out. And you can never, ever, ever take a game off if you want to have that classification. You might have an off game, but there's a difference in having an off game and taking a game off. Any sports player and at any level will tell you that. Dude likes to coast, and if things aren't going his way, he mentally checks out. He is not an absolute, what I would call a sports killer in that way. And I mean that in the sports context, where he's just got to have it. The Michael, the Kobe, the Birds, the guys who had it in them to just end it. That game should have been, that series in that game should have been ended. Now, all the pressure is on Indiana, and there is zero pressure on the Knicks. And where were you, Tyrese Halliburton, during this? Because you knew if you lost that game, even though you're going back home and you're favored to win, anything can happen. There could be fouls, there can be poor shooting, somebody can blow up from the other team. And we both know that Brunson and Towns have that ability. Tom Thibodeau, who I still think, he's still getting heat, but I still think Tom Thibodeau is one of the most underrated coaches, maybe ever. And it didn't work out the first two spots where he was. But you see what he did and the changes that he made in the last 2 games, I think it was, and you see the effect of it. The first 3 games of the series was 3, 5, and 6. Game was decided by 3, 5, and 6. The last 2, 9 when the Pacers won, and 17 when the Knicks blew them out the other night. I think that the Knicks might shock the world tonight. I have a feeling, because I do not believe that the Pacers, while they have waves of players, are extremely athletic, love to get up and down the floor. Rick Carlisle is a terrific coach. Do you feel comfortable, Pacer fan? Do you feel comfortable, NBA fan, with Tyrese Halliburton in this moment tonight at home? Guys, I got you. You're on my shoulders. Hop on my back, and we're going to the finals. And OKC's, here we come. You feel comfortable with that? I don't. Now, he might do what he did in game 4 again. That's very possible that can happen. He has that ability, but will it show up? Will he show up? Or all of this and his other thing that he did that the league warned him, and what his father did, you see a lot of that stuff there. And it's like, is that in his head somewhere? Because it just doesn't have the killer mentality in the sports sense, and that you dispose of somebody when you have them on the ropes. And that's the hardest game to win. Everybody knows this. Anyone who follows sports knows elimination game. It doesn't matter hockey, basketball, football. It doesn't matter what it is. To put a professional team who has pride and is giving it all to win, it's hard to end their season. Just period. So it's already hard. So why would you conduct yourself in any kind of way to give the other team ammunition, billboard material? That name that word isn't used as much anymore. But if you think it doesn't exist and you think it's not in players' heads, you're fooling yourself. The whole choking thing, the whole thing that he did at center court, that stuff that lingers. That's about the same as planting a flag at the 50-yard line in football. So Don't sleep on the Knicks tonight. Brunson can go for 40, Towns can go for 30, and Mitchell Robinson has been an active guy can't shoot free throws. I don't want to say poor guy. As a five-time free throw champion myself, it's mental. Okay, there's technique there, but most of it is mental and most of it is confidence at the pro level. I don't care how big your hands are. I don't care if you're double jointed or not. That should be all right. I'm not going to go down there, but he's been effective. He brings energy, terrific rebounder. The lob is there with him. He's spelling Towns a lot, and it's working. Same thing with Hart on the bench, helps a lot. And now you got Landry Shamet uh, playing some quality minutes, bringing energy. And this is Thibodeau here. These guys were there. It's not that they're not there. It's like you start to see some things, and then, hey, I got to tweak this because it's not working. And then you bring the guys in and you see them deliver. Well, then you're going to go with it. You're going to go with what works. And Hart is that guy. He's really an interesting player. At 6'4", how he can rebound the ball against Towers is really amazing. And so you bring him to the second unit, and that gives you different flexibility. And then you can interchange him depending on flow and pace of the game and time of the game. So the Knicks, with no pressure on their shoulders, and that place is going to be crazy tonight, absolutely crazy. And it's going to be about that first 6 minutes or so of the game. Make sure you stay in the game. And Thibodeau knows this, and his whole staff knows this. They're going to look to curtail runs. Everybody knows basketball is a game of runs. 7-1, 9-2, 13-4, these types of runs. Limit those. They're going to be there. There's no way to stop it. The Pacers are too good as a team, and Halliburton at his position is too good. No one's, and by the way, I am not saying Tyrese Halliburton is not a terrific player. He's just not a superstar. Superstar, whole nother level. He's not there yet. He's trending. He's approaching, but he's got a lot to learn. And it's the mental, I think, part that he has to learn. So I'm going to go out on a limb here because I feel like I feel like I feel something, and I could be totally wrong. And I'll get the X daggers. Will come out sharp as attack tomorrow for people who might see this. And I'll cut this clip, and this clip will be out there. I'm going to say the Knicks are going to win tonight with limited pressure on their shoulders and take this back to Madison Square Garden, where the pressure then goes on the Knicks to win. And then the Pacers will feel a little bit free. The ebbs and flows and the swings, right? Interesting stuff. I would rather have Brunson and Towns, and I'm not a huge Karl Anthony Towns guy, to be honest with you. He tends to take some nights off as well. I know he's battled through injuries. I'm not necessarily talking about this playoff run. I'm talking about historically. He tends to. He's not an every night guy. But everything, the chips are there, man. You are win and continue, or obviously lose and go home literally, right? You're going to go home, you're going to stay home, and you ain't playing again until next year. So I'm going to say that the Knicks win a close one tonight by about 5 points. And even if they don't, I still think that this is going to be a competitive game all the way through. And as a coach in these moments, yeah, you saw OKC what they did to Minnesota, but the disparity between OKC and Minnesota is such that it was primed for that to happen. It could happen tonight, but it's unlikely because of the defensive capabilities, the coaching prowess of Tibbs, and the superstars that you have on the floor. Not that Anthony Edwards is not a superstar, but you have two guys that can do that. Julius Randle was very nice for Minnesota, but I'm going to take Brunson and Towns. And OG, again, I say him every single game when I give my pick and I put it up there. This guy is critical to the success tonight. He's that third solid guy who can knock down shots from all around the perimeter, and I expect him to have a big night tonight. So Knicks by 5 tonight, going back to Madison Square Garden, and we'll talk about that more leading up to that game. So that's that.